Let's talk about the film that was considered the official Best Picture, and that is Wings, starring was it Clara Bow, Buddy Rogers, and Richard was it Arlen? Arlen, yeah. Okay. Wings is a Paramount film. They were a huge studio at the time, very big studio, probably the biggest at the time. They had the biggest star in Clara Bow, the It Girl, um, for having the It reputation being very popular. Whatever it was, I don't know, but apparently she had it. Which you hear that phrase a lot, like in professional wrestling. That person had it. Don't know what it is. Whatever it is, he had it. Well, she was the original, and she had it, whatever it was. And I can kind of see it because she's very cute, a very adorable, very attractive woman, and she's very fun in this. So Wings is the story of Jack, Dave, basically Jack and Dave. I should have had last names, but I can't remember what they were. But they are two romantic rivals for this woman named Sylvia. They're young as it's right before takes place in 1917, so we're getting ready to go into World War One or the Great War. And Jack is like this, dream. He's got his car. He's tearing apart. It's the shooting star. And the whole time he has, Mary, Clara Bow, fawning all over him. She's totally in love with him. And he does not notice it at all. Jack, played by Buddy Rogers, is so damn annoying to me in this movie. Only because, and I think that's what he started out. He was supposed to be, but he comes off very childish in the very beginning. He is so oblivious to how much Mary loves and adores him. He's so focused on the other woman, Sylvia, the rich girl, the better girl, I guess, in his mind. And we've all been there. We've always overlooked what's right in front of us for that thing we can't have. And it's obvious here. But the thing is, Sylvia is in love with Dave, played by Richard Arlen, who is like the most wealthy family in town. But Jack does not have a clue. And he's, when the war comes, they're getting drafted. He basically is confessing his love and not taking the hint that it's pretty obvious that, to my mind, that Sylvia does not want him. But she can't break his heart. She's got a picture she's going to give to her real love, David. He has signed for it on the back of it, signed, with all my love or whatever. And Jack comes to basically, he's asking, I'm going to war. I'm going to miss you. I really love you. I think you love me too. But can I have a picture of you to remind me? And she's like, well, and then he sees the locket with the picture she's going to give Dave, and he just assumes it's for him, this guy. And of course, Dave shows up, and he can't help but kind of rub it in his face. And again, Jack is a jerk. To the point where he leaves, and Mary, she's so smitten with him, and she's so damn adorable, Clara Bow, and she wants to give him a picture of her to remember him. I mean, he's like, "Oh, that's great. Just, I gotta go on by this guy." Anyways, off to the war to be, they're gonna fly. I don't think it was the Air Force. I think it's just Army Air. They only had an Air Force by World War One. I'm not sure, but they were flying planes, and they're gonna go to boot camp. They'll learn to fly planes, and of course, Jack and Dave are there, and they're kind of at each other in the basic training. And it's really Jack. I mean, Dave is kind of minding his own business. He's very stoic. He's like, whatever, I don't even care. And Jack is just egging him on every chance he gets, to the point where they're going to their boxing training, I guess, because you need that. And they just have an all-out brawl, and they just fight it out. And at that point, they're best friends. They kind of, Jack just, or Dave takes a beating. Jack's like, "Why, you're pretty tough. Look, you're cool. We're all right." I say that's ridiculous, but I've seen that in real life. Something about guys, they hate each other, but once they get that initial fight out, man, they get all it out, and they'll be the best of friends. Case in point, kind of off topic, I was in the middle of something like that. I was in the fight when my best friend at the time was fighting another guy. They'd been at it and they had a huge fight. Flew over stage. After that, all of us were like the tightest group of friends through high school. It was so weird. But that's guys crazy. So at this point, now Jack and Dave are all buddy buddy, and they're just they're gonna fight the war together and take out the Germans. And that's what you got here is the original bromance on screen, and that's really what it is. I mean, talk about it's not really a love triangle because Sylvia doesn't factor in this film anymore after this. It's really about Jack and Dave. I mean, Mary will find her way into the war running. I'm not sure what she's doing. She's like running supplies and she's driving a truck to the war, and she'll kind of come across Jack at one point during an infamous scene for me, where after a big victory, they're in Paris celebrating, and he's drunk, and there's this whole bubbles scene where he is just drunk and fascinated with everything. He shakes the wine glasses, bubbles come out. He's bubbles, and I find that really, it's annoying to me. It's like that's so over the top with the drunkenness and the bubbles, but it goes on for a while. But then at this point, they're going to make a big push in the war, so all these people who are on leave are being called back, and Mary finds him. She's trying to bring him back, but he's drunk and over this other the Parisian woman, and she's Mary has to use her feminine wiles to get him to get away. So it's good for the Clara Bow because she gets to dress up and in a nice sexy gown and everything, but the bubble thing is too much. So the biggest thing about Wings is that it's aerial footage. I mean, there is so much footage of the planes and dogfights, and it's for 1927. This is amazing to see. You look at this stuff and these shots, and you're wondering how the hell did they do this kind of thing in 1927? I mean, there's some serious stunt work with the planes. I mean, you've got cameras up in the air, and they're filming. I mean, it's the shots they're getting is just fantastic, and that's one of the testaments of this film, and what's one of the things that makes this film stand out above so many. And its coverage of not only the dogfights, but some of the on-ground war they're depicting, which is also point. This is the first. Not only is it the first Academy Award Best Picture winner, but it's the first Academy Award winner that's going to focus on a war of some kind, which you'll see so much as the years go on. The Academy loves war. They love films focused on war, where the background, foreground, whatever. They love war. But I mean, these shots are, if you look on the behind the scenes and the making of a retrospective on here that's on this Blu-ray, it's impressive what who was it? The director, what was his name? Oh my gosh, I had it here a second ago. William Wellman. That's it. Wild William Wellman, I think they called him, because he was an actual he had Air Force fighting experience. He actually fought in World War One. So he had coming at it from a very unique perspective. Well, I think this is interesting because I think this is 1926 when they filmed 2027. So the war was long, like I said, I think they said like 6 or 8 years since it had ended. So it's very fresh, very real. Which is something I also find interesting about these early Best Picture winners that deal with things like World War One or even World War II later on. I mean, they're right there not long after it happened, so we're kind of reflecting on that, which is pretty interesting to me. But the shots are fantastic. I mean, and again, this is one that this Blu-ray has what I thought actually was a newly done score, kind of just for this disc. But apparently, this is the original soundtrack, then repurposed and kind of redone. They had the original soundtrack in the Library of Congress thing. It was they were to pull out, and the actual sheet music. so they were able to record it and redo the score, put it over the film, along with Ben Burtt, who of course an Academy Award winner for doing the sound editing for the Star Wars trilogy and so many other films, came in and helped redo the sound effects for this film, which I guess were initially filmed just like Sunrise, which I find is fascinating because I recall watching Wings on my first time I watched it was on VHS, but I still have a VHS copy of it. And I don't know if I know I've watched this version before, but I think I watched the because they had the original like organ, newly recorded organ playing for like one of the first restorations and re-releases. I think that's why I listed, because I was thinking that's more original, and it turns out it's not. It's the actual, the one with the restored sound and score. That's how it was probably originally seen. So that was kind of a new thing for me to see this time. This also had this restoration. They had this effect, which was called a Handschegel. I'm pronouncing it terrible. The Handschegel color process, which means when they had scenes of the planes firing their machine guns or on fire, they were able to superimpose a color. Here they kind of use it digitally to put that back in. So it's kind of an orangish color effect over like the fire or the machine gun fire, which is a nice touch. There is different changes in color palettes for the film, which you typically see in a silent film. From night to day, the colors change, like from day being another more sepia tone, and night they kind of go almost like a bluish purple filter to give you that impression of night. So it's an interesting silent film to watch, and I do believe this is probably the very first silent film I ever watched when I did watch it many years ago. I've seen many since, and they kind of use the same effect, but I think it works best in Wings. Now, like I said, the thing that really stuck out with Wings, again, it's stunt work, it's aerial footage. The story is it's not bad. I mean, it's, again, you're dealing with a bromance more or less, and it's got a lot of comedy. Not a lot, but it's strewn in there a little more than you would have for Sunrise. Although Sunrise has got that middle section, which is very funny and cute, but it's bookended with the heavy drama and heavy drama in the beginning and end, but the middle is a very upbeat and some weird comic tones, but it all works. And the Wings is kind of spread out. You also have a lot more title cards, which I think was more typical, of the American silent film, apparently. Narrating, the feeling everybody's having, not no dialogue, just telling you the places, really telling you the story through the cards, as opposed to where Sunrise, you can watch the film and just know what's going on just by the actors and the reactions and how it's filmed, with very little title cards. Where Wings, they're spoon feeding you everything, honestly. So take that as you will, whichever's your mileage may vary. So in the end, what are my thoughts on Between Wings and Sunrise? Sunrise is the better film. I'm shocked that I say that, but after watching this, I mean, I fell in love with this movie. This is just so damn good. And it's a shame. And they weren't even nominated together. I mean, they were. It's not like they had they were totally separated in the nominations, because let's look at find my notes here. I think both categories only had 3 nominations. The Outstanding Picture category had Wings, The Racket, and Seventh Heaven. And now it's when I've seen all 3 of those films. And all 3 of those films, out of those films, Wings is the better film, in my opinion. For Best Unique and Artistic Picture, you have Sunrise, Chang, and The Crowd. I don't know anything about Chang or The Crowd, but I doubt they're better than Sunrise, because this is so good. But if you put between the two, again, this is, if I'm voting, my opinion, if I'm voting between Wings and Sunrise, my vote's going to Sunrise. But but I can kind of see, again, this is early going. It's the American picture. This was a box office blockbuster, and this made a lot of money. It's an epic. Watching this, I didn't realize this is 2.5 hours long. It had an intermission. I'd forgotten all that. It's been so long since I've seen it. But it never felt like it was 2.5 hours long. This, like I said, only an hour and a half. But again, it's not long, 2.5 hours long, like that. I was blown away. But again, this is more epic. The stunt work, the aerial work, that photography, it's kind of a basis for, war films going forward. So, I mean, and it had the biggest star at the time in the world, Clara Bow. So, again, this was just the artistic film made by the Germans, even though it's an American film made by a German director. So maybe that's why they had them separated instead of putting them together. They didn't want them to compete with each other. Kind of like how they disqualified The Jazz Singer because it was a movie with sound, and that's just not fair to these films that don't have sound. So we disqualify. We'll give you a special award or something and move you on your way. So that's pandering, if you will. And again, by the next year, this category is gone. We're sticking with I think we'll still call it Outstanding Picture next year. It might be changed. Except they changed this title for a couple years before they settle on something, permanent. But retroactively, Wings becomes the Academy Awards' first Best Picture. I would have voted for Sunrise. Okay, so thank you for sticking around for all this. That's pretty much all I got to say about these two films. Again, this is a work in progress. I don't know how that's going to go going forward. I'm kind of tweaking it, but I do appreciate you sticking around, and hopefully I can come, do this again here soon. It's very hard to find time to watch these. I'm going to try and pull them out as much as I can. Luckily, the next time around, we'll get to one. Every time out, we'll be one at a time. So that'll be good, a little easier to focus and just trying to squeeze two into one. But I thought it was important to really showcase Sunrise. Again, I said I'm ashamed that I'm just now seeing it and didn't recognize it as I should have as a film worthy of being a Best Picture. And honestly, the Blue Raven says right there, winner of 3 Academy Awards, including Best Picture. Even if the Academy doesn't want to acknowledge it, but that's okay. We still know in our hearts. So that is it for this one. If you enjoyed, click thumbs up, share, subscribe, leave me a comment below. Let me know what you think of this. If you're interested, what your thoughts on Wings and Sunrise may be. I'll be back next time looking at Warner Brothers' first Best Picture winner. And the first, I guess, technically musical to win Best Picture, and it's kind of iffy. And the first questionable Best Picture, probably. And of course, that'll be the Broadway Melody. But until then, this is Chuck saying, I will see you on the other side.